Hello friends, welcome back. First note before I get into reviewing the book for this video, I just want to let you know there is a thunderstorm rolling through, so if you hear rumbling or grumbling or my dogs now freaking out, I am sorry. I'd like to apologize ahead of time. Hopefully the power stays on because last big thunderstorm, the power went out. So fingers crossed everyone, we're going to make it through this review. Alrighty friends, today I am reviewing Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Yeah, Ali Hazelwood. Some of you may be surprised. This does not look like a typical Ali Hazelwood book to you. Hazelwood book to you, does it? That is because she just took her first foray into fantastical romance, and my dark little heart had to say yes, I would read it. Not that I haven't already read almost all her books. I had to grab this one. And I was gifted by the library gods because I thought I would have to wait a really long time in my library for this book, but it was just sitting there on the shelf to the point that when I checked out with it, the librarian was like, wow, okay, this was on the shelf. No, wait. I was like, nope, and that is why I grabbed it. Per usual, this review will be done in two parts. The first part will be a spoiler-free review to help you decide if you want to read the book or not, or just to get a general idea of my overall thoughts, and then the second half, with a warning, will contain spoilers from a more technical review of whether or not I liked the book. It's okay, Kodak. My babies are feeling really scared now. Alright, now my synopsis of the book, handwritten by moi. Misery has always been considered collateral. As a child, she was used to keep up vampire and human relations, and now it comes as no surprise that she is being put up for collateral again, but this time to strengthen relations with the Weir, a group of hot-blooded shifters that have hated vampires for centuries. After marrying their alpha, she has no idea what to expect in Weir territory. She doesn't expect to find the alpha charming or to find his little sister adorable, especially not to be considered an actual living being. While the rest of the world uses Misery as a pawn, they're not ready to learn that she's using them back. She didn't just agree to marry the alpha for the good of the vampires. She married him to find out what happened to her best friend who went missing a few months ago. Her only clue, a piece of paper with the Weir's alpha names written on it. Alright friends, we have vampires and werewolves and Hazelwood's fun, in-depth romance all into one book. I was so confident, confident beyond confident. If you were watching my in real time, currently reading reviews on Instagram, I was so stinking confident that I was going to give this book 5 stars that I am depressed to say that I gave it 4. The beginning was strong, the world building was on point, the romance was a perfect slice of enemies to lovers. However, once the tension died down in the book and the enemies became lovers, the story lost some of the pizzazz that made me fall in love with it to begin with. There's just no payoff in the end. Hazelwood had an extremely, and I mean extremely, strong plot idea, world building, and story, but the execution was lacking. I think that you can tell that this is not something she's used to writing, and it almost read like a debut book in the sense of the way that she took all of the information and ended the story. The ending was more convenient than an actual cause of the story, and in the end, it made Hazelwood seem as if she just bit off more than she could chew. One of the main reasons is I loved the protagonist a ton. Misery, what a name. Misery had bite to her, and I mean that completely pun intended. She was a strong, will-powered woman with the right amount of victim mentality for what she had been through as a kid. Literally, she was sent over as a young child to play collateral, thinking the whole time that she was living in the human world that she could get killed any day if relations between the humans and the vampires completely collapsed. I mean, I think I would have entire mental problems if I had to grow up like that. You could almost worry that she was gonna people please through the whole book, which would have annoyed the shit out of me. Until we find out the fun little twist. She's not going and marrying the alpha for the good of her people. She's marrying him to be able to find out what happened to her best friend. The only connection that she has in the entire world, the only person that she loves, the only person that's ever loved her back, the only person that has made her feel like a normal vampire, dare I say, or a living being that isn't being used as a pawn in someone's game, was her best friend, and we find out her strong side and her ability to risk her own life to figure out what happened to her best friend. Knowing that this came from the romance section, though, I do appreciate that Hazelwood really stuck to her romance route. This is not a fantasy book with romance in it. This is a romance book with fantasy elements to it. the love and the relationship between Misery and the Alpha are the main plot points of the book. We're here to see their love. We're here to, we know what the end result's going to be, because that's the point of romance. We all know that, well, we all assume that the two characters are going to end up together. That's no surprise. And I love that that's led. It's like all of her other romance books. The reasons that I keep getting drawn to Hazelwood is that she has a really strong romance plot, but she has other side plots going along as well that thread the story and make it a little bit deeper than your typical romance book. All of her STEM books have consisted of the two characters as well as an in-depth like STEM plot line, whether it's getting a grant or it's getting something discovered or all of that. It's able to carry the story through, so you're not just reading about two people falling in love. And she does the same thing in Bride, and I really appreciate it. You could almost, if you want to dissect this book, oh, my literary professors will love this. If you wanted to, you could almost say that Serena and Misery are a romance plot themselves, because it is about love between them two. Now it's a platonic love, but it is still love, and that is the point of romance books, love. So in the end, there are two romance plots in this book, and that is the difference of why it still felt and had depth, and why I really love the beginning of the book, because what Hazelwood is good at, what she's done in all of her countless other books, which is dealing with the romance, the characters, the building up, the tension at the beginning, the setting of getting the characters into place, was perfect. It was her use of the fantastical elements and putting those in that started to wear at the end. I couldn't see the follow through. I could see the weakening of where she wanted to go, and at some point it even felt like the characters were getting put into cues instead of getting there based on their own personalities or actions that happened in the book forcing them into that. It was just like, oh, I'm going to conveniently place this character here because I need this to happen to make this happen. And that's where more of like an unexperienced writer tends to show through, and it was definitely done for Hazelwood and her fantastical elements. And in my opinion, because Hazelwood couldn't handle those elements as well, the ultimate moment of, oh no, they're not going to fall in love with each other that we always get in romance books was really contrived and unbelievable. There wasn't a stake there that I could find like, oh my god, I don't actually know if they're going to get back together. It was the typical, oh, I'm going to lie to you to convince you otherwise, but the reader could see it all over the page. It was all a lie. Like, you can see it, you spell it out, you know it's going to happen in a way, and because of that, I just sat there going like, turn the page, turn the page, turn the page, because I'm ultimately like, I just need to prove I'm right. There's no doubt that I know that this is a lie. And that probably is why I really gave this book 4 stars, because I just, nope, not believable, bored to death. From that point on, I was just like, how the hell is this gonna end? Because I am bored now. My dark little heart just wanted more betrayal. And because of the way that the Alpha, and now I remembered his name, I called him the Alpha at the first half of this because I didn't remember his name. Because Lowe was pulling this kind of beta attitude in the book, made it really hard for me to like him anymore. He was a strong character, you know, the hunky guy that melts under her touch, melts under her attention, but he's still so strong and rugged. Like, who doesn't love that? I do. But because of the way that he went about with the betrayal, I lost all credit for him, and he turned into a beta, and he was disgusting from that point, and I was just like, I don't root for this relationship anymore. And that's not what you want in a romance book. You want that moment for your readers to just break their heart so much that they're dying, and they're just like, get back together, get back together. It needs to be better. But if you can ignore all of that issue and can still enjoy the book, it's a solid 4 stars. Like, it was almost 5. It still is almost worth it because it was just so good at the beginning, and I loved the world. I am so sad to see on Goodreads that this is not looking like a series, because I want more, and the way it ended makes me think that Hazelwood might be trying to plan a book too. And I'm not going to give what happens away at the end, but if you read Butcher and Blackbird, you might just like understand what I'm saying. And so I want another book because I love the world building in this. The idea behind the wares and how the vampires and humans exist and the warring and all of that stuff, and how the collateral and how did they have political relations and how they just exist together and all this stuff. Interspecies relationships, it's all stuff. Amazing. And that is what Hazelwood pulled off. It was her ability to come up with this fantastical element phenomenal. I really hope that she's not too down by Bride and a little too sad, because I would definitely 100% read another fantasy heavy book by her, because I still love it, even though I'm saying I gave it 4 stars. Like, do you see the joy? Do you see the joy? I loved this book still. All right, friends, don't worry, ruin my metrics. Click away now if you haven't read the book, because there will be spoilers from this point on, and you have been warned. Okay, more good news about Bride from a more spoiler perspective here. I loved Misery. Okay, the name Misery, if I have a little girl, can I call her Misery? Like, what a name. What a bold choice to pick. That took guts. I'm obsessed. And now naming all my characters in my book have just taken a turn for myself. Now, Misery does come across as a victim in the book, and I think for good reason. I think that Hazelwood built an amazing backstory to allow Misery to sit in that victimhood mentality, yet her strength is hidden, and I greatly appreciate that. But in building her into the position of being more of the victim of the story, we see a lot of things just happen to Misery in the book. I mean, she's forced into being the Alpha's bride. She's forced into doing the things her brother does. She's just in this place of existing and not being able to have a lot of her own free rights. But in my opinion, I didn't want to throw the book down because of that. I found it believable, and I was able to carry through the story. And I also really liked seeing Misery's arc of coming from not having anything as a child or anyone to be with her, and being able to say, like, fuck you to her dad, go back to living in the human world, to hide herself, to pay for college, you find out later, between her and Serena, and being able to do all that, and then the arc of coming back, but giving all of that freedom up to save her one true love of her best friend. Beautiful. And we really get to see the core of Misery when she interacts with Anna too. I mean, here's a person who has a cold heart. She has had everyone in her life practically betray her. Her best friend's betraying her now. But then we see her with Anna, and we see like that core instinct kick in when Anna's getting kidnapped and all that stuff, where she's just like, I'm not going to let things happen to people like they happen to me. I'm going to protect the defenses, and I'm going to go. And that is what made Misery amazing, because though she's a victim, she's a strong person that isn't going to be defined by her victimhood. As I've said, Hazelwood really struggled with the fantastical elements of this book, the world building, some of the abilities to get to point A to point B. Now, she made a bold, well done choice to help her achieve her ending that she wanted, of not having to describe her world too much, by making it clear the book is told in Misery's perspective, that Misery doesn't know a lot about the vampire world. Misery has pretty much spent her entire life in the human world as collateral. And because of that, and this book is told from Misery's perspective, she doesn't have the information to be able to give the readers, because she herself doesn't have the information. And that was a very interesting, bold choice, and it worked in this case. This is not something that she could lean on in the future, but in this case it played out, and I was given enough information about vampires to get through the story, because again, this is a romance book with fantastical elements. This is not a fantasy book with romance elements, and that's probably also why I was fine with not getting as much world building as I would normally want in a book. I myself want to walk away understanding how Hazelwood wrote the beginning of this book to suck me in as quickly as she did. I need to parse it with a fine-tooth comb. You're not the only one that's trying to learn from their reading. I am too. Now, my only caveat could be is that I was so starved for content after reading Scarlet that I just, like, gobbled up my type of book. Whatever the case be, I need to understand what she did, because this book sucked its fucking teeth in me, pun intended, from the start. Now it's question time, where I come to you to answer my question about the book. What the hell was up with Lowe's anatomy down there? Because I am confused as fuck. At one point, I was getting updates saying, like, I didn't understand, maybe let me keep reading. I have read the damn book now, and I still don't understand. I'm still lost. Hazelwood, if you're watching this, I just threw the love of your book out there. If you can, just leave a comment below and tell me why. I need to understand. Alright, friends, if you are a writer, what can I tell you to take away from this book? I can tell you to use this book as an example of not being afraid to push your boundaries. Hazelwood pushed her boundaries. I mean, she went there. She is written contemporary science-based romance books before this. This is her first chance. Like, when I saw the cover of this book, I almost didn't believe it was from the same author, to be honest. It is so outside of her comfort zone of what I'm thinking. But she did an amazing job, and the only way to get better at something is to practice. So take this book as an example to push yourself outside your comfort zone, to try that thing you've always wanted to try to write, and just do it. Just go there, because I think you'll be happy in the end. And I think that Hazelwood did an amazing job with this book, and I am 100% going to guarantee to read any other fantasy books, romance fantasy books that she writes. I'm at this point where I'm willing to give her a chance, because except for the fatal flaw, this was a 5-star read, and I do not give romance books 5-star reads very often. I am extremely picky, and I love this book. It was hot, it was sexy, enemies to lovers in a believable way, the world building, just the idea behind the world. I am dying to see what Hazelwood comes up with next, because the theme and the way her world worked was amazing. So we made it through. No thunder. My dogs didn't freak out. Well, thank you. If you liked this video, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And make sure to check out all my other book reviews, as well as Dark Side of the Word podcast that I host weekly with my friend. And we also have a book club in that if you want to join in. Otherwise, friends, happy reading.